Good afternoon. I am Joy Testa Cinquino from the Buffalo and Erie County Public Library. Today, Tuesday, February 17th, after 600 programs, I'm welcoming you to a program entitled Celebrating 600 Imagine Greater Buffalo Programs, really since December 2009, hosted by the Public Library. And today we have a conversation with Dennis Galucki. Imagine Buffalo has been presented in partnership with C-SAAHN, the Center for the Study of Art, Architecture, History, and Nature, and ImagineLifelongLearning.com, and hosted, of course, by our dear friend and volunteer, Dennis Galucki. So today I'm moderating. I'm Dennis right now. Dennis will be our guest. We've done this one other time in December of 2024 when it was the 15th anniversary year. We're happy to see Dennis. We're not in person, but Dennis and I run into each other or see each other throughout the many years that you have been doing this. We're going to talk today about Dennis's tenure with the program, why he decided to do this, how he decided to do it, how he keeps doing it, some of his favorite programs, and much more. We'll show some slides as well. Before we get started, and Dennis could probably say this with me, just a little housekeeping. Everyone watching will be muted, your video turned off. If you have a question or comment, at this point, we're going to ask you to put it in the chat box. We may decide during the program to just open up the mics, but we would ask if we do that if you raise your hand and we can open your mic for you. We are, of course, recording the program so that you can watch it later on the Central Library's Facebook page or YouTube channel, and we'll want you, of course, to share the link. So I want to say that this has been an incredible partnership with Dennis Galucki for longer than I've worked at the library. When I first started here in 2010, the program had already started. And I want to say it was always Tuesday afternoons, but I'm not sure if that's a fact. At 12 o'clock, the program would start and there would be a video and then there would be a guest. And Dennis has booked all of the guests, 600 programs. So this is actually our 601st program. It's always been a lunchtime lecture series featuring community leaders in the arts, education, preservation, health and welfare, the environment, and always presented in cooperation with the library and C-SAAHN. And in the early days, like I said, it was in the library's, Central Library's Ring of Knowledge, and attendees would bring their lunch, or they'd go to Fables and have lunch. So things have changed, and a lot of them changed because of COVID. So Dennis, let's take it back a little bit. What were you doing before 2009, and what gave you the energy and the ideas to actually host such a program?
Well, thank you, Joy, for doing this. This is I'm very honored. It really goes back to a class that I gave at Chautauqua with my friend Chuck LaCusa. Chuck is the webmaster for the website buffaloah.com, and the AH stand for Architecture and History. You'll see some connections then. The class was for 2 years, 2006 and 2007, as a special studies class at Chautauqua. And it was to imagine Buffalo in the 21st century. And Chuck had done all this work, so he was showing a lot of visuals. And it was a week-long class, 3 days, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, hour and a half each. So it was good. A good way to take a handful of people and develop what does it mean to imagine Buffalo in the 21st century. Well, that finished in 2007. I wasn't sure what to do. I became a docent. I had been a docent at the Martin House since the late 90s, right around the time I retired after 30 years in the investment business. By the way, working always within about a half-mile radius of the library, at the Rand Building, at the KeyBank Center, at the VAC Building, Buffalo Athletic Club near City Hall. And I always imagined, I wish there was a program like the one we created that I could go to during a lunch hour. Well, a lot has changed since then. Obviously, I'm not sure lunch hours even exist anymore, but certainly people wandering the streets and looking for something to do isn't very likely now. But it did have an audience, and that was the proposal I made. I started teaching a class at Chautauqua every Monday in 2009, the summer of 2009. It was a weekly program called The Art of Investing. And it was trying to help people understand portfolio management, and people that own individual stocks were attracted to it. I finished that. I remember riding my bike past the library in September of 2009. I had heard Ann Conable, who I knew from the Landmark Society of the Niagara Frontier days in the Market Arcade when we had some lectures. And I had the idea to just stop and ring the doorbell, so to speak. And Anne was there, and I proposed to her that I could do some program once a month in the Ring of Knowledge and Imagine Buffalo. And literally, that was the beginning. She liked it. And right off the bat, we had a great response. I invited the mayors of both Buffalo and Niagara Falls to speak. Mayor of Niagara Falls did speak. Mayor of Buffalo sent his development director and gave a great presentation that was videotaped someplace, so it probably exists out in the digital world someplace. But that gave me the idea of saying, I could record these perhaps as a digital audio recording, and started doing that very soon, early on in 2010. So that was it. We quickly moved to a twice a week program for the fall of 2010. And then 2011 happens, and we had managed to, as everybody knows, I think, to get the National Trust for Historic Preservation to come to Buffalo. And in doing so, I thought that September and October, maybe even November, let's go to a daily program, or I'm sorry, a weekly program. And that's what we did and have been doing ever since until now.
And so it's interesting. Yeah, it's interesting how technology did play a role, because you used to bring your little tape recorder and put it right on the podium in the Ring of Knowledge. And now here we are doing it by Zoom since I think we actually was the fall of 2020 that we came back on, and we did it by Zoom. We were talking a few minutes earlier about the library had never had Zoom. We had never used Zoom. We didn't know how to use it. And we now are pros. We're all of us pros with that technology. And I know Dennis as well has still continued to tape every program from your end. And then the beauty of Zoom is that Zoom can capture it for us. And that's what we put on our Facebook page and on our website as well. I want to say that, and this number, please don't hold me to this number. I'm not a finance person, but I'm sure that all of the live shows, Dennis, and the Zoom shows, over 15,000 people viewed them in person or online. That's a whole heck of a lot of people. I think that they learned, it was all about learning, and it was all about learning in a casual way from the expert, from the people who were doing the day to day. How did you find your speakers?
Well, I was imagining Buffalo, and my emphasis, and you can see by the title of the digital enterprise and network that I created called C-SAAHN. And what is it? I defined it right off the bat when we created the website in the summer of 2009. And that was on Chuck's web page of buffaloah.com. So C-SAAHN, I pronounced it. I was studying to be a docent at the now Buffalo AKG Art Museum. And I liked the artist C-SAAHN as a bridge artist. Took people from one thought process to another. Picasso would say, without Cézanne, there's no Picasso. So I thought this program could act as a bridge to perhaps to connect digitally all the culturals that originally were birthed within the library, the downtown library, and then spun off, especially like during the Civil War, 1862. A group of artists spin off, and before you know it, you've got what now is the Buffalo AKG Art Museum, the history museums, science museums, all spun off. And I thought, what if the library could be that centerpiece again digitally? It would be good for the library, perhaps, and good for the community to see the stories that exist now in the 21st century. That was the underlying root of the Center for the Study of Art, Architecture, History, and Nature. There was one other dimension, really birthed it. I was a docent for close to 25 years. We celebrated an anniversary a few years ago. And I kept asking myself, what makes this so attractive to be a project that our community is really responding to, both with volunteers and money, and the will to do it, to finish it, and as you know, did accomplish that. And I came up with these four elements. I thought it's certainly about architecture, Frank Lloyd Wright, but wait a minute, it's really a piece of artwork. It's like walking through a sculpture, the inside of a sculpture almost. And then I thought, but it's really about history, art history, Buffalo history, American architectural history. But then I thought it's really about nature, to the degree that Frank Lloyd Wright would call the Martin House design as organic architecture from within out. And that was the inspiration for the acronym that developed with that of C-SAAHN. And that really then was the way I was going to invite speakers rooted in those areas. And a couple of years later, then added a wellness factor. I got to know Phil Haberstroh. He had created the Wellness Institute located at City Hall. Unfortunately, died as a young man at 71, but we still honor him. And so we added a second theme. The first one was to imagine Greater Buffalo as a premier cultural and nature center. And then we added the theme, imagine a healthy, wealthy, and sustainable community. And both you would have to imagine lifelong learning, place-based lifelong learning, right here in our own backyard. How do you connect all these dots? So that really would guide me towards what speakers to ask, as long as they filled in those two themes that could speak to them. And they're all around, a lot of good people in this town. And that's the other thing. We gave them a platform, a half-hour platform, once it became a Zoom program especially, to tell the story of their organization and why it's important to our community and to lifelong learning for everyone.
And I will say you really succeeded, because we had the directors of Albright Knox, the directors of Darwin Martin, the directors of the History Museum, the directors of the Science Museum come on and talk about, and many, 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 many more come on and talk about their evolution and how they have, what their mission is in terms of meeting the needs of the community. I do want to read something from Spree Magazine from 2018, and then we're going to show our slides. And Dennis has not, well, you saw the slides, but just real quickly, but we can stop if we need to after each slide or during each slide if you want to say anything. So in 2018, Spree Magazine wrote about you, and they wrote, Galucki practices what he preaches about lifelong learning, but it's also clear he's a born teacher. Here's his, and then you went on to explain how you found your way to arts and culture from a business launching pad, which is what you just talked about. But the term lifelong learning, I know when I came here, because I'm not a librarian, my background is marketing and communications and fundraising. So when I came here, I wasn't even using that term lifelong learning. I use it every week now, and we use it. It's just part of our dictionary here. So I'm going to ask Hannah if she can pull up those slides. And again, if people have questions, put them right in the chat. It looks like there we go with the slides. We'll keep each one up for about 5, 10 seconds, and then Dennis, if you want to say anything, jump in. Otherwise, we'll just get going. And here you are, right in the ring of knowledge. Um,
I'll thank my one son for that Imagine sign you saw, made out of wood.
yeah.
Very nice gift. Tom. Brian Higgins.
And this was when Brian Higgins was a congressman. So, we had elected officials as well as people that were just doing their jobs every day, talking about the kinds of things that would make Buffalo and Western New York better.
Well, the other thing we did was create an award. I made it into an annual award from 209, and we honored Congressman Higgins. And again, as you said, every awardee had to come and receive their award. And these were more recognition than anything else, but he was certainly one of them. That list is impressive. Those that know Buffalo history, just to be on that is very good. Most recently, we gave it to the Western New York Heritage Magazine and its executive director.
We've got the list. It's a slide probably coming up in a few more slides. You'll see the list of those who have won that award. And while we're going through these slides, Dennis, you have received awards as well. The Red Jacket Award from the History Museum, you were honored. And others, I think, and you can throw those in, but I think it's probably 1 or 2 more slides where we're going to see the list of those that were honored through Imagine Buffalo.
Red Jacket has 3 separate awards. There's one Red Jacket Award. That wasn't me, but I did receive one of the other 2 recognition categories. Scott was a great help as we did the wellness, because there are annual county rankings that are done at a national level. And it just struck me, why is Buffalo always at the low end of the counties in New York State? Forget the nation. Just why is Erie, Niagara, Chautauqua, Wyoming, why do these rank at the lowest? And I thought maybe we could at least create some discussion to find that out. We've got a school of medicine. We've got a lot of good reasons to think you should be doing better than we are by the rankings. It turns out the rankings, measure a narrow focus, and they would explain how they're doing it. Now we do it for the county because the county then ranks, has their own ranking, and those were good programs towards wellness, and I think that's important. I hope that's important to the community to improve its wellness.
Dennis, tell us again, like, for example, Stan Lipsey, 2010, Charlie Rand-Penny, 2010, John Conlon, 2010. How did you come up with choosing them as to be recognized? What was going on in the community?
Well, first of all, Chuck and Bob Shibley, we served as directors for the Landmark Society. And that really was the springboard of thought for me. I wasn't aware of preservation that we would learn about. And I was asked when the history, the person at the Buffalo History Museum that was very much involved in the planning for the 100th anniversary of the Pan American in 2001. I got involved with that. That's really also another foundational point where you start doing tours and trying to tell Buffalo story by way of the history. And then I was asked to be on this landmark society. And so Chuck and Bob, I wanted to acknowledge them right off the bat. Uh, Charles Rain Penny literally came here a few weeks before he died and passed away. He came in an ambulance to receive it. He's an incredible gentleman. I'm glad I had the privilege of knowing him. A great collector, and again, that he came here, and he said he would, and he did. Stan Lipsey too, publisher of the Buffalo News. These are people that you knew were nearing the end of their career. John Conlon was the former, as Doug mentioned a couple of weeks ago, the former editor of Western New York Heritage, and very much a preservation person involved with the Hull House. Ed Healy paid me the great honor of making sure that the cover of one of their annual magazines from Visit Buffalo Niagara at the time had these four elements. That this is what our area was about: art, architecture, history, and nature, right on the cover. So that had to be acknowledged. Jerry Rising, boy, he just did the nature part, and Nature Watch. He was a columnist back then. Great. And Ann Conable again. I wanted to. She was the community outreach person. Retired just this last year. You have a wonderful new outreach person, and hopefully she'll maybe comment and say hello in this presentation. But there was a reason behind each one that I thought should be recognized, and that's simply the way I take the award. Imagine Greater Buffalo Recognition Award are for the people behind the scenes, usually making things happen that may or may not be recognized. So it's a recognition award, just as it says. Bob Cressy, I mean, Michelle Cavanaugh was in my audience for several weeks, and then I discovered she moved here and created Western New York STEM Hub. Just what we needed at the time. So that needs to be recognized. Elizabeth Licata, the Buffalo Spree, what great articles they would do on all four of those elements: art, architecture, history, and nature. So why wouldn't you want to do that? Don Boswell, Don gave, we recognized him in 2020, but he was one of the first speakers in 2010. And he came dressed up like Karnak from what was then the Johnny Carson show. And he gave the whole presentation in that format. It was hilarious, a side of Don Boswell most people hadn't seen. I wish that was on a video, but at least we got the audio.
So while Hannah goes to the next slide, I'm going to read what Deborah wrote in the chat. She hopes you mention the huge crowd that attended a tour of Hotel Lafayette given by the developer himself, Rocco Termini. So there were some field trips, and I don't know if you want to talk about that. It was, I believe, when it had not opened. I can't remember if it had opened yet or not, but this audience went and took a tour.
They sure did, and the reason was it was during that October period of the National Trust being in town and expanding the program to a weekly program. And part of it was the Statler renovation was going on, the Hotel Lafayette. So I asked these people if we could take a tour. And usually people aren't walking around during construction sites, but they managed to say yes. And literally, especially the Statler, I remember there was a line lit 2 blocks long of people to tour because they're all interested in these things. People are interested, and here you are alive. So I was proud of those tours, and that's very nice of the person to remember being on it. It's a fond memory for me as well.
Dennis, tell us any programs that surprised you. And that came from our own Hazen.
Good. Well, current events would get us back to last October. Uh, uh, Mason Winfield was on, and the surprise is inadvertent because it is one of those things, Joy, that for some reason, and Mason talks about the spirits out that are out there, and he makes a good presentation in East Aurora and all around town. He's written several books, and wouldn't you know it? And he simply said in the end, well, there's the spirits working, but somehow the recording didn't develop, however that happened. And you folks were incredible to piecemeal things together, his PowerPoint project, and make a recording out of it. That was, I think, one of our biggest surprises.
And it was fun too. We couldn't figure out what had happened with that. I know we talked about a year ago, there was a big snowstorm and the library closed early on that Tuesday. And from my house, I ran Imagine, and I didn't run it very well because I either couldn't hear, I couldn't see. I had like three computers on and a cell phone on, and we were piecing it together. But those are the things the public doesn't always know. It was still a successful program.
Outtakes. We can,
Yeah. So believe it or not, Dennis, there's like 2 or 3 minutes left. Tell us a couple things in the last few minutes. First of all, I want you to talk about you've been always a good supporter of things going on in the library. You bought us a whole collection of the masters, those videos. You have supported 3D videos of our exhibits that have been here, and I know you're working with the Grosvenor and Rare Book Room now on supporting some of the next step in terms of video technology of preserving our exhibits. But you've also done things with Chautauqua, and we haven't even mentioned that at all. And I know you've done things with, caring about fourth graders, making sure our fourth graders in certain zip codes in this community can get to those culturals, can get to the Science Museum, can get to other places. Can you talk about those things?
What holds this program is an idea that I expressed right at the beginning at 206 and 207 at Chautauqua. And I called it the Buffalo Chautauqua Connection, but idea and connection. So that the Chautauqua is a platform. I mentioned I do a class and still do every Monday at the Smith Memorial Library at Chautauqua. You can get to the library free. The library's accessible. Don't have to pay a gate pass for anybody, but it's been life willing, continues, will continue at 4 o'clock every Monday during the season, an hour program, The Art of Investing. So that's one platform. The other, I thought, how do I connect Buffalo and Chautauqua? I got familiar with Chautauqua in the 90s and became intrigued 80 miles away as this cultural resource that is nationally known. And yet there were very few speakers from Buffalo. So in the library, actually, for many years, created a program inviting Buffalo speakers on art, architecture, history, nature, just as we do here, to speak one day a year. And it was a floating day, and it has been, and we're the 17th annual Buffalo Day at Chautauqua is now spread throughout Chautauqua. Platforms in the Hall of Philosophy, the Hall of Christ, with different speakers. We may even have an amphitheater presentation of a naturalization, first one ever for Buffalo Day this year. We're working on. It looks like it'll happen, and that's going to be August 25th, week 9, Tuesday of week 9. Now we also have a Buffalo Day Eve, and we'll be talking about the Pan American Exposition from Melissa Brown at the History Museum. We'll be presenting that on Monday, and several speakers dealing with presidents. Our contribution for USA 250 this year is to show Buffalo story around presidents, the TR site, and the Presidential Center, Buffalo Presidential Center, right there in the library. So that's a different focus every year. And we've had great speakers, and I'm honored that we're able. Oh, and by the way, it's free for Buffalo residents. Families can go to Chautauqua for the day. They do have to live in the 44 zip codes in Buffalo, 14201 to 14280. And if you live there, you can spend the whole day, morning till the evening performances. So take advantage of that, folks. It's hard to get the word out. We do the best we can. And frankly, the library has been a great help in helping me get through flyers and announcements. And I hope you'll continue doing that. I'm sure our relationship will continue going on because we haven't mentioned that detail. I don't think that, let me simply say this is the last live program, Imagine Greater Buffalo program that we'll be having. My tremendous gratitude to Joy for picking up on the idea. Like you mentioned, it was just started before you arrived, and it incorporated it. And you've had wonderful staff now, people like Hannah that I see on the screen, and Hazen and Melissa, to carry this on. So it's been a great privilege. I've been encouraged, let's put it this way, to continue the program, and I'm going to do that with, this is all on your 221 programs, I think, are on the library's YouTube page. That will exist. I'll keep pointing to that as foundational, but then on imaginelifelonglearning.com, we will have and have started our own YouTube page, and I've done one production. This one will be actually included on that as well, and it's being recorded by my son Todd, who's assisting me with all of this in Atlanta. And I've got the curator for the AP Gorney exhibit that is going on right now. She'll do a half-hour program, same format. Everything will look the same, except there won't be audience participation. We'll just drop these podcasts as we develop them. I'm not sure at what pace, maybe a couple of months or so, we'll see. And along the same format. So it will continue and build on what we've created here. The C-SAAHN audio link covers over 1,500 recordings at Chautauqua and Buffalo. There are archivists there. Nobody recorded them. And I did, just as an audio recording. Would go down there every Tuesday and Friday and record them because it was good material. It's about our area and how it connects with America, the rest of America, especially at Chautauqua, but especially here in Buffalo too, in certain areas. And art, architecture, history, and nature. Look around. Who's got a Niagara Falls? Who's got the Lake Erie right there? All the parks that we had. Who's got the architecture we had? Second probably only to Chicago. The book Dead Presidents came out and said Buffalo is the second best city for presidential stories next to Washington. Who knows that? So my goal has been under the banner of imagining lifelong learning, place-based lifelong learning, to tell that story, to connect the community, all the culturals with libraries that, frankly, I would invite future libraries to consider that they add a branding item of every library being a lifelong learning center, and virtually every cultural is the same. They're all lifelong learning centers. They attract volunteers, the culturals who are learners. People do a lot of volunteer work, and I wanted to acknowledge them. That's why the Center for the Study of Art, Architecture, History, and Nature is a digital enterprise and network designed to help link volunteers with lifelong learning communities as part of the Buffalo Chautauqua idea. You can go to my C-SAAHN website on Chuck's Lacusa's buffaloah.com, and you'll see that mission statement and what it's trying to accomplish about values and whatnot. So I hope people stay tuned. And this is a jumping off spot from one format to another from my standpoint. And
Right.
my thanks
And,
for doing what
and
you've done.
thank you. And I think Hannah's just putting up that link again. The link is on the library's website where you'll be able to learn more about the upcoming YouTube programs that Dennis is producing. I do want to say, because we've gotten a few more messages on here. Robert wrote, "Thank you for bringing lifelong learning to us during the lunch hour at the Central Library and via Zoom on Tuesdays. Always an enjoyable experience. Appreciate it." Thomas wrote, "Your boys in Atlanta are extremely proud of all your accomplishments. Well done, Dad."
Nice.
Beth wrote, "What a legacy for that Galucki family and all of Buffalo. A wonderful story and a fantastic brother. I'm very proud of you and your many accomplishments and the people who embraced your love of so many areas of lifelong learning stories and of Buffalo." And then Todd, your other son, another son, wrote, "Bravo, Dad. Well done. 600." Deborah wrote, "I'm glad I have witnessed the last live session of this series that I have attended off and on for years. I have learned so much about the Buffalo region and gotten me to branch out to attend many institutions, including Chautauqua." And so, Dennis, you're getting a lot of love and a lot of hearts from the people who are on right now live. And then, of course, like all of our other Imagine programs, this gets posted on our YouTube and on our Facebook, where other people have an opportunity to view it, whether it's this week, next week, or even in a year from now, where the whole, it was really important that these be archived, and they are. I do want to say that, in just thinking about who is Dennis Galucki and my conversations with Dennis over the years, because sometimes I would call him up to address the previous show, or we talk about upcoming shows, or we talk about who makes sense to come on as a speaker. Dennis has always been passionate. He's a supporter, as we know. He's an ideas person. He's an educator. He's a speaker. But most of all, you're a connector. And I think the connector of even any conversation we ever have with you, or you talk about, if you're just, here at the library meeting people or on lifelong learning, that you want to connect how Buffalo and what people are doing can change the lives and change what this city was and what it can become. And for that, we thank and appreciate you, Dennis Galucki. If you were here in person, I'm looking at you on the screen and you're only about this big for me, but if you were here in person, I know we would be popping the cork and really saying how much your work has helped the library in its mission to meet the needs of the community, and what was the right thing at that time to be working with our community and informing them about. So, wishing you the best. I know that our conversations and our meetings are not done. You are one of the biggest library supporters ever, ever, ever. And we thank you, and I hope everybody will give you a big hand right now. And when they see you, or talk to you, or communicate with you, or send us a message for you, and we will forward those to you, that that you've made an impact, and that has been important to us and to the community. So hats off to you, Dennis, and wishing everyone well. Stay healthy, stay warm. I guess stay warm. It's going to be a little warm this week. But anyway, Dennis, I don't know if you have one final thing you want to say. Just one last word.
Very much. I thank you, but I really do thank all the people that have supported this by participating over the years. And as you pointed out, continue to participate in looking at the YouTube programs or listening to Internet Archive, where the 1,500 are. The big number you mentioned were continuing to watch this. So my hats off and thanks for the support of viewers. Without you, it doesn't happen. Why do it? Thank you all.
Thank you. And as Dennis would say, have a good day.
And be well.